Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 13th meeting of the West Sacramento City Council and the West Sacramento Redevelopment Successor Agency and West Sacramento Financing Authority. We'll start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, as we always do. Tonight, the pledge will be led by the Executive Director of YOLO Arts, Danielle Whitmore. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The council met earlier in closed session, and I would like to ask our city attorney, Jeffrey Mitchell, to report on closed session.
Council met in closed session with its labor negotiator concerning Local 522 fire on the West Sac Police Officers Association. No action was taken. Also met with legal counsel for under significant exposure to litigation on two matters. No action was taken, or one matter, excuse me. And met with its real property negotiator concerning property at the location shown in the staff report, and there was no action taken on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. And that brings us to item 1A, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the council. Just as a reminder, the council is prohibited from discussing issues not on the agenda brought to us at this time, and according to state law, items first must be noticed on the agenda before any discussion or action. However, we recognize this is an important opportunity for public forum, and we ask that anyone wishing to address the council on any agenda item should first fill out a request to speak form. They're found at the entry. They look like this, and present it to our city clerk to my left. And we ask that for our regular agenda items, we receive these requests to speak prior to the completion of staff presentations. Our consent items, however, are taken up together, so we would request that if there was an item for discussion on our consent agenda, that we receive that before. And we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, so that it's fair for everyone, and we ask that there be no cheers, boos, applause. We know that speaking in public can be stressful, so we do have we have rules of civil discourse in the chambers. There also is a flip chart in front of our city clerk, and that kind of designates the item on which we're discussing. We do have one speaker for item 1A, and that is Executive Director of YOLO Arts, Danielle Whitmore. So if you would please come to the podium. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members and staff. My name is Danielle Whitmore. I am the Director of YOLO Arts. And really briefly, because I know I have 3 minutes, I wanted to tonight just outline 2 new arts initiatives that we will be bringing to the city of West Sacramento. The first one is called Veterans in the Arts Project. It is our project is called Positive Reflections from Combat to Community. This was funded by a grant from the California Arts Council, and we will be bringing 3 different artistic disciplines with this. Over 30 Yolo County veterans and artists will be displaying their work at the Sac City College, West Sac campus. We will be bringing the Yolo Community Band, and then we are commissioning a Yolo County Veterans poem that will be read by Andy Jones, who is, of course, a UC Davis faculty member and poet laureate. So that will be happening April 8th from 4 to 6 at the Sac City Center. The second initiative, we just recently were awarded a $68,000 grant from the James Irvine Foundation. That grant is for the project we are calling ICU. It has one essential goal, and that is to increase the engagement of adults who are experiencing homelessness or low income in the arts. We really understand that the homeless issue in our county and really in the nation, that at the heart of this project is really decreasing the invisibility of the homeless folks and increasing visibility among the humanity and really creating empathy for this project. It's an interesting program that the James Irvine Foundation funded. They consider this almost risk capital, if you will. And this is a risky project in a lot of ways, But we are very excited to be working with the Yolo County Homeless Coordinator and the Yolo County Libraries, and we'll be bringing that to the West Sac Library project. And that, we don't have a timeline for that yet. We just were awarded that funding, and so we'll be back in touch with you all when that happens. These two programs are in addition to working on arts in schools. We have, for the last 7 years, brought blues in Yolo County schools to the West Sac Joint Unified School District. And then we also have had the opportunity, and I wanted to thank the council for their partnership on the Joseph Lopes Public Art Project. We were thrilled to be partnering on that and feel really honored to be representing the county of Yolo and bringing this art piece to your collection. So if you have any questions, you can find us at yoloarts.org, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations on that grant.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 1B, which is council communications. Everyone have a report? Okay. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, just briefly, the Yolo Solana Air Quality Management District met this morning. There were only two items that we discussed of substance. One was the new Yolo Solana Air Quality Annual Report, which will be published shortly. And also, we all looked at the portable equipment program and also made assignments to committees. I'm going to be on the Technical Review Committee, which is a committee that reviews new rules and regulations before they're proposed to the district, and also the Yolo Cleaner Funds, which is it's the money that comes from the DMV that's allocated to the cities for cleaner projects. So just for city staff purposes, I think last time, I don't think there was a West Sac project in that. So if staff can maybe keep an eye on potential projects to submit to the Yolo Cleaner Funds and see if we can get something this year. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Johannesson. Mr. Christoph?
Yeah, very briefly. Sac Regional Sanitation, we met this morning, and really the only issue of any major consequence was there was a bid discrepancy. We went out for a bid on a part of the project, and it was a $40 million bid. So people have a tendency to really dot the i's and cross the t's when you're talking that much money, especially in the contracting business that they're in. And so we had a discrepancy on the low bidder, and the board found that the discrepancy was minor in nature. So therefore, it was awarded to the original person. But anyway, that was really the only issue that came up that was of any consequence.
Thank you, Mr. Christoph. For my report, the City School 2x2 met on January 4th. We discussed the structure of our agenda, and at our next meeting, which is in February, we plan to discuss pathways programs, career tech activities, and internships. School board trustees also requested assistance from the city arborist to potentially secure fruit tree plantings at River City High School. And then the Water Resources Association met on Monday, January 11th. We received an update on the Sustainable Management Groundwater Act and learned a modeling tool called Water Evaluation and Planning System, or WEAP, that could potentially assist our jurisdictions in groundwater planning and evaluation. That was among a number of reports we heard that day. I also attended a briefing from Greater Sacramento this morning that was given to its investors, of which our city is one. We learned of two initiatives: the development of a Greater Sacramento Competitiveness Council that will work to strengthen the scientific and technological base of the region to boost our competitiveness, and also they're going to establish a Greater Sacramento Food and Agricultural Innovation Council that will champion the region's food processing and farm operations, and that council will be led by and chaired by Raley's president and CEO, Michael Teal, which we know is a West Sacramento-based business. So I'm sure we'll hear more of that in months to come. So those are our communications. As far as item 1C, there are no actions under items 1C, so we will proceed to the consent agenda. Before we take that up, I do want to let you know that item 6 had to be removed tonight. I have to recuse myself from that item, and so we would lose quorum for that vote, so that will be held over. So with that in mind, are there any requests to pull or speak about any items? Motion for the consent?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Johannesson, seconded by Mr. Christoph. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, well, that moves us on to item 8, which is a continued public hearing to consider Council Resolution 16-5, authorizing the issuance of the 2016 special tax refunding bonds and related actions. And Financing Authority Resolution 16-6, authorizing the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $15 million and approving the form of the official statement and distribution thereof, and approval of related actions. Thank you.
Yeah, we come to you periodically with these bond refundings for savings, and, on these bonds that we're going to refund, these were issued back in 2006 to 2008, and usually there's a 10-year window where you can't call bonds, and that's why we waited this long to bring these to you. But the good news is that interest rates stay low, and so these are really good opportunities. So what we're going to ask you to do tonight is to briefly hold a public hearing and then approve resolutions 6.5 and 6.6 of the city and the West Sacramento Financing Authority respectively to authorize the issuance of the bonds. Quick summary on it. You're going to see about $1.9 million in savings over 23 years. That's 1.2% net present value savings, an average savings of about 10%, which is very high. Usually we try to get at least 5% on these deals, so these are great opportunities. The benefit will be to lower special tax assessments for property owners. So if I'm in the Perella neighborhood, my tax bill may go down by as much as $20, which is on the low end. If I'm in the Bridge District and I pay CFD 23 special taxes, my bill should go down about $400 a year. So with that, the report's before you. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions at this time? All right, I'll go ahead and reopen the continued public hearing. There are no requests to speak, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back for deliberations and a decision. Questions?
Well, I just think that, if we can save the citizenry money, it's a good thing. And the terms of the bond are really, they stay the same, the length, I should say. And so, this just saves the homeowner or whatever, $20 a month, or $20 a year, $20 a month.
$20 a year up to $400 a year, depending on what.
And so, it makes sense to go ahead and do it, move forward.
Mr. Johannesson?
No, I'm supportive of it as well. We've had a number of these over the last couple of years, and it's good. It's always good to save money. I'm prepared to move the recommended action.
Thank you, Mr. Johannesson. It's moved by Mr. Johannesson,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Christoph. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Thanks for the good work on that. That brings us to item number 9, which is a public hearing and first reading, which ordinance 16-1 regarding proposed amendments to Chapter 17 of the West Sacramento Municipal Code related to fuel stations and the waterfront zone. It's recommended that we open and continue the public hearing to February 3rd. Without objection, I'll do that.
Recommend.
All right. That brings us to item number 10, which is a public hearing and consideration of Resolution 16-7, authorizing submittal of a funding application to the State of California Community Development Block Grant Over-the-Counter Program. Thank you. Good evening.
Oops, we on? The State Community Development Block Grant Program provides funding for business loans for job creation, and the City of West Sacramento is eligible to apply only for another month or so under the state program, as we will be moving to federal CDBG entitlement status come July 1st. The item before you is a request for council approval to submit an over-the-counter application for an amount not to exceed $413,875 to receive the funding to provide a loan to the owners of Revision Brewing to build a craft microbrewery and tap room in West Sacramento. It is CDBG eligible because they will be creating a minimum of 11 full-time equivalent jobs, over half of which will be offered to low-income residents of West Sacramento. Their intent is to create a total of 25 jobs over a period of 3 or 4 years, but through the first year of the project, it'll be 11 full-time equivalents. The city's CDBG loan will be for brewing equipment and will be matched by a loan of $400,000 from Community Business Bank. There is one change that I need to notify the council regarding this project that occurred today, too late to be placed in the staff report. The location at 825 F Street, that's not where it's going to be located. They were not able to secure a lease there, so they are looking for another location and believe they've found several alternatives. So there may be a change of location of this project. The council's options would be to adopt the resolution tonight, which would be fine because it doesn't specifically indicate a particular location, or you could elect to continue the hearing to the next meeting when we hopefully would know a location by that time. Our concern with that option is that we are on a very tight timeline with the state, and we need to submit the application as quickly as possible once a location has been selected. So that concludes my presentation.
Any questions right at this point? Mr. Johannesson?
No, what happens if they don't secure a location and we go through this process?
Well, we could not submit an application if there was not a location identified, because there would be no way to properly underwrite the loan.
Right.
The state would not accept it.
So really, you're just looking for a resolution to proceed tonight, and then by the time you submit the application, they will have found a place?
Yeah, they would have to find a location before we can submit the application,
Okay,
yes.
right.
And not just select an location, but we would have to have the lease terms and the cost of any tenant improvements and those sorts of things, so we could figure that into the loan underwriting.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. We do have a request, open the public hearing. We do have a request to speak, which is Jeremy Warren, actually representing Revision Brewing Company. Good evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to come up here and take the time to introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Warren. I was the founder and former brewmaster of Knee Deep Brewing Company in Auburn, California. And just wanted to take the time to say we're excited to be able to come to West Sacramento and build a very large state-of-the-art brewing facility that will not only have high recognition in the state of California, but also on a national level. And we kind of liked the approach that you guys have here at the city of being a mosaic, and just wanted to say hi and take the time. So, thank you.
All right, there are no more requests to speak, no questions of Mr. Warren, so I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for deliberation.
Well, for me, it's critical that they have a site. I mean, and as Louise says, if they don't, then we can't apply anyway. But at the same time, it's really critical that they have the site. And
Mr.
then I
Johannesson?
would move forward with them.
Okay. Mr.
program.
Johannesson?
Yeah, I'd agree that the site's necessary, but I think we also have an urgency of getting this in before the opportunity lapses. And it appears if we approve it tonight and they don't have a site, it's not moving forward anyway.
Right.
And so I think it's prudent to at least get this in the pipeline to get it done.
Okay. Is that a motion, Mr.
It is a
Johannesson?
motion. It is a motion
And
for
moved by
this.
Mr. Johannesson, I also support that moving forward. Is there a
Yes,
second? Okay.
I support it too, but I do have a question for Louise.
Okay.
Louise,
We'll hold on to your motion. for
now
one
that we're
moment.
moving into a whole new arena as far as feds and so forth, what happens to the process that we use to find these grants?
Well, it changes completely because we won't be applying for anything ever again, CDBG related, because we will automatically receive an allocation from HUD. And then it's at the city level that we determine where our needs are, most critical needs. So we develop a 5-year plan that has goals that we want to accomplish, and then each year, we develop an action plan on where that funding goes, in addition to any program income received, for example, from a business loan.
Right,
That also goes into your annual action plan.
okay. All right, okay.
So the annual action plan it takes a lot of work, but it is not competitive. It's not
Yeah,
like a
we
grant
get to make the
application.
choices
Right.
Yep,
of where you want to put the money.
exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. That was a good question to know what's ahead of us. Thank you. So you seconded the action moving forward?
Second, yeah.
All right. So the motion is moving forward and moved by Mr. Tennyson, seconded by Mr. Christoph. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That moves forward. Thank you very much. Look forward to hearing more about that. And our last item tonight on the regular agenda is item number 11, which is consideration of an update on the Rayleigh's dock and approval of additional funding for the completion of the permitting process. Good evening.
Good evening. The Rayleigh's dock was originally applied for under the Nationwide 3 permit, and after the Army Corps of Engineers looked at that application, they determined that we had to meet some of their new requirements, which was blockage calculations and raising existing piles by an additional 2 feet. So they determined that it wouldn't meet the Nationwide 3 permit, which is basically a maintenance permit. So we met with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on December 3rd, and they told us they recommended and determined that we would have to go in and augment that application with what they call a letter of permission, or an LOP. So that's the reason why the staff is here tonight, because when we initially put this out for an RFP, the scope of work did not include that with our consultant, GHD. So the new scope of work includes developing and submitting an additional request for authorization under the LOP. The additional scope of work includes geotechnical exploration, and it also includes a water quality certification, and the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board is asking for a separate biological assessment. So in addition to that, this additional scope of work, that includes any liaison meetings that our consultant would have with the different agencies. So the reason why staff is recommending that we go forth with this project is because we think it would put us in a better position for attaining grants in the future for this project. And at this time, we'll entertain any questions that you may have.
So how much grant money do you anticipate we are going to need for this project?
2.2 million. And just to be clear, and it was in the staff report, we've tried for 2 grants already
Right.
and been unsuccessful.
Right.
Any other questions?
No?
Thank you. So there's a number of actions being requested tonight that you just reviewed.
John, the city's getting ready to have quite a bit, or spend quite a bit of money on consultant, on work for this. Looks like, $150,000, $200,000 or something like that. If we go ahead and do that, what are the chances that we will be successful in the grant arena for this project, since we've already been turned down twice?
Let me ask Katie to speak to that. Katie's been working on the grant side for us. Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
council members, Mayor Pro Tem. We recently overcame a huge hurdle in terms of grant application, although we ultimately, and we made it as a finalist on Mill Street Pier, but that set the stage for us to use that same grant funding and go after grant funds for Rayleigh's Dock. Rayleigh's Dock The total project cost is 2.2, so we would be looking for roughly half of that, probably from grant funds. And then Washington, as a result of all the HUD strategy work and financing work we did, that dock is part of our parks improvement for the Riverwalk. So we would be forming an EIFD and CFD in the future in Washington, and those funds could be available for match. That said, I think the grant, it's tough because there's few grants that fund this type of dock improvement. The Federal Boating Waterways Grant only funds like large docks that have
Right.
yachts docked on them.
Well, exactly, right. So, we're not talking about a grant that has matching funds from the city or anything, any other expenditures other than the 86, the 66, and the $20,000 here.
Right.
That's the extent of it.
Exactly. It's simply the amount of funding that's needed to complete out the permitting, and we already have the state lands lease done. We're just waiting on Army Corps of Engineers Central Valley Flood to finish their process. So there is a significant investment already in this process and in our design work, and staff
Right.
is recommending that, given the existing investment and time, that it makes sense to go ahead and complete the permitting. And then we are project ready, we have construction bid sets, and we can start pursuing grant opportunities.
Okay.
Mr. Johannesson?
So the downside of just stopping, it's basically, after a certain period of time, whatever work we've done has gone stale, then we have to gear up again, and what would be the cost of restarting? I mean, because eventually we're gonna have to do something with that, right? Either tear it down or do something with it, I would imagine.
Exactly. So state lands lease put conditions on their lease that they want those improvements completed with a certain period of time, or possibly they would ask us to demolish. We technically have not accepted full ownership from Rayleigh's at this point in time because we wanted to be certain that we would have the right to rebuild that dock, and we made that a condition of our moving forward with those state agencies. It's proven to be more challenging than anticipated. So if we were to stop all efforts at this point, I'm not sure what the position of state lands would be, or Central Valley Flood, in terms of those existing pilings and remnants that are in the middle of the river. I think as long as we're making progress and acting in good faith to repair and restore it, then they will be patient.
And so you're just asking for another 86,000 that's over and above, that's already been allocated
Exactly.
for this project in order to keep it moving, and, I
Exactly.
mean, it is part of the riverfront master plan, and one of the major amenities I think we've looked at. So at least, you know, in my view, we should proceed and allocate the money and do it.
And it did sound like this would be these are the last pieces.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay.
We've gotten assurances from our team that this is fixed price. It will be delivered, fully permitted, full construction bid sets, no further amendments, so.
All right. Any other questions at this
Yeah,
point?
one of the problems I see
Mr.
is in working with the Army Corps of Engineers, that's a tough issue to deal with as far as this is it. You know, the word is and all the other things that come out later, and boy, you can go down a slippery slope if you don't hit a home run on this. Because, I mean, I just don't want to throw $86,000 away. So,
I guess we can control what we can control, so. All right. Any other questions at this point? Looking for a motion or action?
Well, I would move the recommended action. We've had the update, so remove items 2 through 6.
All right.
Staff report.
There's
I'll
a-
second it.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moves forward unanimously. Thank you very much. Thanks for the diligence on that project over many years. That moves us on to item 12, which we'll start with council calendar. Ms. Berlin?
Good evening, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Here are a couple of items that might be of interest to the council. On Thursday, January 21st, is the Chamber of Commerce Annual Installation and Awards Dinner. And I believe you have all been invited, and if you have not yet RSVP'd and would like to attend, please let us know. Then on Wednesday, the 27th, we are hosting the City-County 2x2 meeting at noon. January 28th through the 30th is our council retreat. And on February 1st, that's a Monday, we are hosting the City School 2x2 meeting at 5:30.
Great. We just have- oh,
I
Mr.
might
Christoph?
add one thing to that, and that is West Sac SAFCA meeting is, I believe, moved from January 14th, Thursday, January 14th, to January 21st.
Okay, thank you.
And I just have a couple. Tomorrow, the Regional Water Authority, we meet in Citrus Heights at 9. It's on there for January 14th. That's where I'll be tomorrow morning. And then next month, the February 15th, the Regional Water Authority, we meet, I believe it's every other month, so that just can come off. But otherwise, it looks,
Okay,
we're
thank you.
busy as usual. Thank you. City Manager report.
Just briefly, longtime Parks employee Andre Pitchley has accepted a position in Tracy as their Director of Parks and Rec, and his last day for the city will be January 22nd. And I also notice in the audience, our incoming Director of Parks and Recreation, Cindy Tuttle, is here, and she starts work on January 25th.
Welcome back.
You're running your people out already, huh?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tuttle. We have City Attorney report.
Nothing to report?
Staff direction, City Council, no direction. Future agenda item requests? All right, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, so we moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,